Are aliens real?
Yes,
Oh, man.
personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would think that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question.
Are aliens real? And if they do end up being real, I will be the first one to come on and tell you all that I was wrong. Look, the aliens are real. Are aliens real? Right now, in this very moment, there currently isn't any evidence for life on other planets, but the universe is a big place, and it seems unlikely that out of all of the millions of trillions of planets presumed to exist in our over 13 billion year old universe, only Earth has ever hosted life. And therefore, the search for extraterrestrials is a serious business. And scientists are getting increasingly savvy about how to look for their ETs, or as we call them here, aliens. According to the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, SETI Institute, the invention of radio opened the door to the idea of transmissions from other worlds. And inventors Nikola Tesla and Guglielmo Marconi both believed they might be picking up signals from Mars in the early 1900s. The first serious radio-based search for extraterrestrial life occurred in 1960, and that was masterminded by astronomer Frank Drake. He used 2 radio telescopes to search for signals from planets potentially orbiting stars headed 12 light years away. Project Ozma, as it was known, turned up absolutely nothing. No proof whatsoever. Neither did Project Phoenix, and neither did anything else. However, right now we have something going on in our news that will make what even the James Webb Space Telescope picks up seem like nothing. We have been sending up telescopes to check things out, and we've been trying to get proof that there is life on other planets. And right now in the news, apparently we might have some. So without further ado, I am going to roll that intro, and we're going to get right into talking about, are aliens real? What is going on with this UFO hearing today?
Karma's a bitch.
So according to Yahoo News, lawmakers are holding a congressional hearing on UFOs, unidentified flying objects, today. Lawmakers are set to hold a congressional hearing on UFOs on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, which is today, where several Pentagon whistleblowers are presenting testimony about the existence of ETs and extraterrestrial life on other planets. The House Oversight Committee said the hearing, titled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, Implications on National Security, Public Safety, and Government Transparency, will explore first-hand accounts of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAP, and assess the federal government's transparency and accountability regarding UAP's possible threats to U.S. national security. At least 3 witnesses who have already come forward with claims that the government has kept information about UFOs secret for years are expected to testify about what they know about alien life. You see, this has blown up everywhere. Everyone wants to know, are aliens real? And you see, they have an actual former Navy pilot who testified today. And this person has spoken out before in the past. And honestly, I don't think any of us wanted to take them serious. But now that this is happening at the Pentagon, we have to face it, right? I've always said on my channel that I personally have a hard time believing in aliens. And if they are real, okay, because I do think that there's a bigger chance that they're going to be real than I do think that there's a chance that the God's going to be real or Jesus is real. I'm just saying, if they are real, they are not at all how we perceive them to be in the movies, in the TV shows, in Hollywood. We are probably dead wrong about everything that we think we know about them. And if they do end up being real, I will be the first one to come on and tell you all that I was wrong. Look, the aliens are real. So a former Navy pilot has recounted a chilling encounter he had with an UFO in 2014, and this was as he was flying an FA-18 Hornet, and he was off the coast of Virginia Beach. He says that there was an unknown object and that it surprised everyone so much that the flight commander called off the mission immediately and they all returned to the base. His name is Ryan Graves, and he was the first witness to testify in this highly anticipated UFO hearing happening today, right now. He said that he saw a dark gray or black cube inside of a clear sphere and that it got within 50 feet of his squadron's lead aircraft. He said it was between 5 to 15 feet in diameter. And he said that the commander filed a report, but there was no official mention of the encounter that was ever surfaced. The squadron submitted safety reports, and other former pilots are backing up this story. One of them is retired Navy Commander David Fryver, and he told the hearings that he believed that these UFOs were a threat to national security and that they obviously have way more technology than us and that they can do things that we are not yet capable of achieving. He had his own sighting. He saw a perfectly white object that was smooth with no windows fly by him, and he said it moved in ways that a human could never move. He says he's not a UFO fanatic, but he saw it with his own set of eyes, and therefore, he has to believe in it. And I am one of those people too that do think that I have to personally see it or personally see some real evidence. For me, other people telling me it happened and that they saw things are not enough. I need to see it. I need to see the proof. And if you're one of those people too, hey, I get it. And if you're not and this is good enough for you, that's fine too. I'm not out here telling you what to believe. I am just presenting the evidence to you, and then you make the decision for yourself. I do speak out about pseudoscience, and as of right now, aliens and the belief in them is known as an extreme pseudoscientific belief. But as of late, it has not seemed as crazy as it did in the past and when the crop circle stuff was going on and all that was going down. Now it seems to be a lot more real because of this hearing happening today. They saw all kinds of UFOs. This was a regular occurrence. And so much so that they had to begin talking about them and warning about them in pre-mission flight briefings. So, that's pretty good evidence. So let's actually hear the man say it for himself.
How do you know that these were not our aircraft?
Some of the behaviors that we saw in a working area, we would see these objects being at 0.0 Mach, that's zero airspeed, over certain pieces of the ground. So what that means, just like a river, if you throw a bobber in, it's going to float downstream. These objects were staying completely stationary in Category 4 hurricane winds. These same objects would then accelerate to supersonic speeds, 1.1, 1.2 Mach, and they would do so in very erratic and quick behaviors that I don't have an explanation for.
All right, that's fair. David Grush is a former intelligence official who became a whistleblower on UFO sightings, and he says that the U.S. government actively intimidates soldiers who spot the UFOs and force them to keep it secret. He testified today that he's feared for his safety after coming forward with what he's seen. He says that he knows of multiple colleagues who have been injured, and when asked if they were injured by UFOs or the government, he responded both. So, that is a bit creepy. I could see this conspiracy theory being kept from the public makes more sense to me than the flat earth, right? Because the earth's shape does nothing. Like it doesn't put us in a risk, security risk, or in risk of our lives. Everything would still go on as it does every day right now. Just we would think that the earth was a different shape. You know what I'm saying? Aliens being real. Okay, now if they had proof of this and they did not want to cause a bunch of fear mongering, cause a big panic uproar, cause a bunch of problems until they knew exactly what the aliens were and figured them out and had something to combat them with, if they wanted to keep that from us, they've done that before, in situations like this where they don't want a mass panic happening, where they'll keep the information to themselves until they could deliver it to the public in a way where it wouldn't cause a mass panic. So I could see this happening a lot more, if that makes sense to you.
Thank you all very much. Have you faced any retaliation or reprisals for any of your testimony or anything on these lines?
Now, this is Mr. Burchett, and he is the man that started the opening statements, and he thinks that they're going to uncover a UFO cover-up. That's kind of how he opened the trial.
Yeah, I have to be careful what I say in detail because there is an open whistleblower reprisal investigation on my behalf, and I don't want to
Whoa.
compromise that investigation by providing anything that may help provide somebody information. But
Oh,
it was very brutal and very unfortunate, some of the tactics they used to hurt me both professionally and personally, to be quite frank. Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, as they say, when you're over the target, that's when they do the most firing at you. Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
I really hope he's about to say no, but it sounded like he was about to say yes. I just, it would really suck if people got hurt to cover this up, as I'm sure there would have been a way for them to let us know that these are real, like I said, and without causing a mass panic.
Yes,
Oh man.
personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would think, that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Maybe
my
in
God.
if we could get in a confidential area, skiff, we could talk about that. But unfortunately, we were denied access to the skiff, and that's very unfortunate in this scenario.
And see, that doesn't look good. No matter what you believe in, the tactics that they have used to cover this up, if it is a cover up or even if it's not a cover up, like something's happening here. And they are using bad tactics. They're using fear mongering tactics. They're using weaponizing personal information, I'm sure. They're doing disgusting things to people. Like, you cannot do that no matter what. And I just think that there would be a better way to go about doing that as the fucking government.
Intelligent extraterrestrials.
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Oh no, here we go.
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super. Thank you. And
Yeah, so hopefully they can at least find some more information with that. Now, what they're talking about is that he claimed that one of the alien spacecraft that crashed in northern Italy in 1933 was secreted away by dictator Benito Mussolini, who was a complete fascist and asshole. So he's talking about how there were non-biologicals found on that spacecraft there, which was apparently very real.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Congressmen, Congresswomen. I want to first thank you for the invitation to speak to the committee on the UAP topic that's been in the news for the past 6 years and seems to be continuing to gain momentum. As you know, my name is David Fravor. I'm a retired commander in the United States Navy. In 2004, I was a commanding officer of Strike Fighter Squadron 41, the world famous Black Aces. We are attached to Carrier Wing 11, stationed on board the USS Nimitz, and have begun a 2-month workup cycle off the coast of California. On this day, we were scheduled for a 2v2 air-to-air training with the USS Princeton as our control. When we launched off Nimitz, my wingman was joining up. We were told that the training was going to be suspended, and we were going to proceed with real-world tasking. As we proceeded to the west, the air controller was counting down the range to an object that we were going to, and we were unaware of what we were going to see when we arrived. The controller told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space. We arrived at the location at approximately 20,000 feet, and the controller called merge plot, which means that our radar blip was now in the same resolution cell as the contact. As we looked around, we noticed that we saw some whitewater off our right side. It's important to note that the weather on this day was as close to perfect as you could ask for off the coast of San Diego. Clear skies, light winds, calm seas, no whitecaps from waves. So the whitewater stood out in a large blue ocean. All four of us, because we were in F-18Fs, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat, looked down a small, saw a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water like a ping pong ball. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings. As we started clockwise towards the object, my Wizzo and I decided to go down and take a closer look with the other aircraft staying in high cover to observe both us and the tic-tac. We proceeded around the circle about 90 degrees from the start of our descent, and the object suddenly shifted its longitudinal axis, aligned it with my aircraft, and began to climb. We continued down another 270 degrees, nose low, where the tic-tac, or we considered 270 degrees to where, and we went nose low to where the tic-tac would have been. Our altitude at this point was about 15,000 feet, and the tic-tac was about 12,000. As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingmen, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the whitewater was at, and it was gone also.
So it was just gone. Now, that's some pretty compelling evidence, if you ask me.
So as you started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cat point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute. You can calculate the speed." We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to them, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar, and I can get into modes later if you're interested. What is shocking to us is that the incident was never investigated. None of my crew were ever questioned. Tapes were never taken, and after a couple days, it turned into a great story with friends.
Yeah, see, that's a bit bizarre. That makes me wonder, though, if that's because it was a government spacecraft and they already knew what was happening, so they didn't need to.
It wasn't until 2009 until Jay Stratton had contacted me to investigate. Unbeknownst to all, he was part of the ATIP program in the Pentagon led by Lou Elizondo. And there was an official report that came out that's now on the internet. Years later, I was contacted by the other pilot, Alex Dietrich, and asked if I'd been contacted, and I said no, but I'm willing to talk. I was contacted by Mr. Elizondo, and we talked for a short period of time, and he said we'd be in contact. A few weeks after that, I was made aware that Lou had left the Pentagon in protest and joined forces with Tom DeLonge, Chris Mellon, Steve Justice, and others to form Two Stars Academy, an organization that pressed the issue with leading industry experts and U.S. government officials. They worked with Leslie Kean, who is present today, Ralph Blumenthal, and Helene Cooper to publish the articles in the New York Times 2017 New York Times. And it removed the stigma on the topic of UFOs, which is why we're here today.
Yep, that's true. That's why it started to get taken more seriously, I think, and then it's just been taken real seriously since.
Those articles open the door for the government and public that cannot be closed. It has led to an interest from our elected officials who are not focused on little green men, but figuring out where these craft are, where are they from, the technology they possess, how do they operate.
See, like, that's my thing, is if we would stop focusing on the little green men part, then I would be able to maybe get on board with this more.
It also led to the Whistleblower Protection Act and the NDAA.
Now, I do think that that should exist. There should be a Whistleblower Protection Act. You all know that I am myself a whistleblower. I love me the whistleblowers. Blow all the whistles. I do think that that should be in place. There's a reason why you would have to be a whistleblower, and that is usually to take down a corrupt organization or something corrupt that's going on that you're speaking out about. So, I mean, yes, please do protect the whistleblowers.
Witnesses coming forward to say, that have firsthand knowledge, and Mr. Grush just covered.
My point is, if that's all that happened here, is that we got a Whistleblower Protection Act, that's a plus for me.
That. What concerns me is that there's no oversight from our elected officials on anything associated with our government processing or working on craft. Believe it, not from this world. This issue is not a full public disclosure that could undermine national security, but it is about ensuring that our system of checks and balances works across all work done in the government using taxpayer funds. Relative to government programs, even unacknowledged wave programs have some level of oversight by the appropriate committee members in the House and Senate.
Now, see, that's a good point to make. You would have to want this to be investigated just like you would want anything else to be investigated. I can get on board with that.
And this work that is said to be occurring from whistleblower testimonies should not be exempt. In closing, I would like to say that the Tic Tac object we engaged in 2004 was far superior to anything that we had on time up in the next 10 years. If we in fact have programs that possess this technology, it needs to have oversight from those people that the citizens of this great country elected in office to represent what is best for the United States and best for the citizens. I thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
And that's a good point too, that if we do have that technology, why are we keeping the technology a secret? Are we scared of other people getting a hold of it? I mean, like, you know, you could at least let us know why. This here is the Tic Tac shaped object seen in the sky, and this happened on November 10th, 2004. There was a video that was leaked in 2017. Pentagon declassified the case in 2020. That is, until he just spoke about it today. This article in the Daily Mail ends with saying, all three whistleblowers on Wednesday agreed UAPs are collecting reconnaissance information, probing our capabilities, and said they are potentially providing an existential threat to the U.S. and all the other countries, like the whole world. Come on now, not just the U.S. And each of the men agreed that if the craft became hostile, they and their crew would not have the capabilities to defend themselves. And I think that's the scary part of all this, right? These questions were asked by Representative Andy Ogles, who confirmed there is a clear threat to the national security of the U.S. and urged Congress that it needs to be aware of such activities following the answers. Burchett gave his closing argument. You've endured criticism and derogatory remarks. So God bless y'all. We made history today. And yeah, maybe they did make history. But did they make us believe that aliens were real? I'm putting it on you. You decide that for yourself. If this is enough information and all you need to hear and see in order to believe in it, then you go. But honestly, if it's not, I might be with you. I feel like I need more than just people's testimony. Just because they are under oath doesn't mean that they're not lying, okay? We have seen people lie under oath before. And again, I need to see something. I need to actually see it with my own eyes, I think, in order to believe it. So they need to provide us with some physical evidence instead of just verbal evidence and pictures and things that we say could be rigged. Mind you, anything could be rigged. So what is enough information and what is enough evidence? I guess that's another conversation that we can have on another day. How much evidence is enough evidence to prove to us skeptics that aliens are real? I'm going to leave you with that thought. And if you liked this video and it made you think and also updated you on the information of the Pentagon trial today on UFOs, then, give it a like. If not, then tell me to go fuck myself in the comments down below. And no matter where you are, what you're doing, I hope that you all have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your day. Take care. I promise you that CC React will be out. I just really had to cover this first. So, mwah. Bye! I'm thinking, are aliens real?
Yes. You have to be careful asking that question.
They call me a god. 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 Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession, I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex, haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. They call me a